the most reliable source would be the femoral blood as opposed to the central blood.
Yes.
But even that has problems, doesn't it?
In some cases it could, yes.
Because with drugs that are subject to redistribution, the post-mortem levels can be way higher, can't they?
In some cases they can, yes.
Have you ever heard of if you were to ratio central blood to peripheral blood, that would be say the heart blood to the femoral blood, a ratio. Like in this case, I believe it's 3.2 heart blood, 2.6 femoral blood. 3.2 over 2.6. That ratio there's been studies that show that that is also predictable of the ratio of post-mortem blood to ante-mortem blood. Is that correct?
I'm not familiar with those studies.
Okay. Certain drugs are more prone to redistribution post-mortem than others, aren't they?
Yes.
And propofol and lidocaine are drugs that do redistribute, correct?
That's correct.
Now we got some drugs don't redistribute post-mortem, correct?
Yes.
Is lorazepam one of those?
That I don't know.
Have you read Basalt's article on lorazepam and its tendencies not to redistribute after death?
Sorry, answered the question.
Call over the objection. Are you familiar with that?
I have read Basalt's article on lorazepam. However, I don't recall what it says about redistribution.
Could I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Well, the question is, are you familiar with the characterization of redistribution?
I am familiar with what it is.
You may approach.
Thank you. I want to show you just a copy of Basalt's article on lorazepam and refer you specifically to the second page that I've highlighted in yellow.
Yes, it says here lorazepam.
I'm not interested in what it says. Did you read what Mr. Flanagan just showed you?
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan.
Is Basalt's article in that respect? Do you rely upon this on Basalt's book?
Yes.
And would you rely upon Basalt for determining specific properties of drugs?
Yes.
And Basalt indicates that lorazepam does not redistribute. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we have some evidence of that in this case here, don't we? Okay, I'll withdraw it. The post-mortem level of lorazepam in the heart blood was 1.62.
1.162.
And in the femoral blood, it was 0.169, wasn't it?
Yes.
And so that's the only substance analyzed where it was actually higher in the femoral than it was in the heart, correct?
That's correct.
And so that would kind of confirm that post-mortem redistribution is not going on with lorazepam, is it?
If you know, you may answer. Overruled.
It would suggest either that it's not going on or that it's more or less the same in these two areas.
Well, those measurements are really close enough to just be considered equal. Is that correct?
They are very close.
What level? Well, first of all, let me ask you about lorazepam. Are you familiar with the absorption qualities of lorazepam?
I
Qualities.
Do you understand the question?
Well, I
Oh, you're thinking about it, so I'm going to sustain the objection. Vague and ambiguous. Re-ask, please.
Okay. If you were to consume a 2 milligram tablet of lorazepam, how long do you think before you would reach your peak level from that tablet?
I would estimate perhaps half an hour to 45 minutes.
And if the basalt study says, the studies say 2 hours, would you disagree with that?
Well, I couldn't disagree with what the study says, I suppose.
If you take lorazepam IV, you're going to reach your peak, and it would probably be infused kind of slowly, but you'd reach your peak at the end of the infusion, wouldn't you?
I'd object. It's beyond his expertise, Your Honor. He's not a pharmacologist.
Overruled.
It would take a while for the lorazepam to get mixed into all the blood circulation. It probably would be on the order of a minute or two before you reach the peak effect.
Okay, so it takes a minute or two for the IV thing to distribute and kind of equalize out, form an equilibrium in the body.
Yes.
And if you do it intramuscularly, it takes anywhere from about 5 to 20 minutes,
Something like that, yes.
because that's not directly into the bloodstream, is it?
No.
It's got to redistribute into the blood, doesn't it?
Yes.
But if you take it orally, it's got to absorb into the stomach, doesn't it?
Yes.
And when a pill goes into the stomach, it's not really absorbed into the rest of the body until it dissolves, is it?
That's correct.
So if you're doing an autopsy and there's stomach contents, and there were in this case, weren't there?
Yes.
And I believe there was there 73.5 grams of stomach contents?
I'd have to look at the autopsy report here. Uh, 70 grams.
70 grams?
Yes.
Okay. And that entire 70 grams was scooped out?
Yes.
I believe you used a ladle or something like that.
Yes.
And when you examined, you did a visual inspection, you saw it was just a dark liquid, wasn't it?
Yes.
But it wasn't blood, was it?
No, it was not obviously blood.
It could have been some blood in it,
Yes.
but it also could have been some fruit juice in it.
That's possible.
You never did really identify exactly what the makeup of that stomach contents was, did you?
No.
And you didn't ask that it be done by a toxicologist.
No.
But you did examine it to see if there were any, I think you call it tablets or capsules.
Yes.
And you didn't see any tablets or capsules, did you?
No.
But that doesn't mean that there weren't any drugs in the stomach, does it?
No, it does not.
Because when the drugs, like, say, pills or tablets or capsules go into the stomach, they're supposed to dissolve, aren't they?
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, they've got to dissolve before they're absorbed, don't they?
Yes.
And so if a person takes, say a person took some lorazepam tablets, those would have to dissolve before they were absorbed, wouldn't they?
Yes.
And so you really cannot tell by just looking at the stomach contents whether that person has taken any lorazepam tablets, can you?
You cannot, no.
And so the only way to determine whether there's lorazepam in the stomach would be to do a toxicological analysis. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if you did a toxicological analysis and you found that there was 0.64, there was 0.64 lorazepam in the stomach, that would be evidence of consumption of lorazepam pills or ingestion of lorazepam pills, wouldn't it?
Now, are we speaking of 0.64 milligrams?
Micrograms per milliliter.
Okay, 0.64 micrograms per milliliter. And the stomach contents is going to be 70 milliliters. Okay, so we're going to have 0.64 micrograms per milliliter. It's 56. 60. Well, I probably would do better with the calculator, but
I don't know what you're trying to calculate. What is it you're trying to calculate? The calculation might have already been somewhat done.
well, what I'm trying to figure out is how many milligrams of lorazepam are there in the stomach? You know, we take our whole 70 grams and figure out how much that would be.
We've already had a calculation done on that that's based upon 73.5 milligrams or grams in the stomach. I mean, that's close enough, 70, 73.5. There was a calculation done and that the lorazepam concentration was 634 nanograms per milliliter. There's a volume of 73.5. You see the math?
Yes.
What exhibit, please?
That's 172. And the amount in stomach is 0.046599 milligrams. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, well, that has nothing really to do with the question I asked before, does it?
Objection. Then why is counsel reading it to him?
I don't understand the question and
Okay.
to what it's referring. Sustained.
What I'm asking you is if we got a 0.634, now this is 634 nanograms, that would be 0.634 micrograms, so we're going to keep everything the same.